I've got my Mothman shirt on. We've got some Metazoo reserve list news to talk about. Well, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. I hope you're having yourself just an amazing day. It's been a big day for news in this TCG space with Metazoo and Flesh and Blood and all the stuff going on today. Today we're going to talk about the reserve list announcement. And before I get here, I know that there's going to be a lot of people on either side of this fence. And honestly, I'm still trying to figure out exactly where I fit on this fence. I love this announcement from an investor collector side, from a player side. I worry about this announcement. There's a lot of things to talk about. I'm going to do my best to find a nuance here and talk about all the things, and then I'm very curious to see what you think in the comment section below. Metazoo, there's been so much going on lately. There's all these things going on with the NFTs. There's new hires with these awesome marketing directors. There's new things going on with the board is being announced. There's just so much going on, and in the middle of all these announcements, we have a reserve list announcement, and not just a small reserve list announcement. When I started hearing wind of the reserve list announcement, I started thinking about some specific cards, and maybe it was going to be 3 or 4 cards, but all of a sudden we got a big reserve list announcement. And if you want to look at this, right now the place to do that is in the Metazoo Discord, and then you just go to the reserve list, and it's got it all there. We're going to talk about some of the cards on this reserve list. Before I get there, I do want to say that I wish that this reserve list, and it may be being added to, but I wish this reserve list was on the website. I know Discord is such a great place to host information. I do think it belongs there in the Discord, but I also think that Metazoo can put things out in a more public way on the internet in their website. And I'm sure they will be doing this. I'm sure that even maybe by the time this video comes out, they've already done it, but I do think that's one of the first things I want to talk about is that some of these announcements need to get on that front page so that more and more people can see them, and so that there's an easier way to get to them. More importantly, is an easier way to get to them officially from the website. I just think that's one thing. But that being said, this is in the Discord server. The first thing that stood out to me by far, the absolute first thing that stood out to me was the Mothman. The Mothman is on the reserve list, and this is, they actually, specify which Mothman it is. Mothman 3 of 159. So, and they actually said that the last print of that will be with the Revive skateboard. So that's what this Mothman is. If you weren't familiar with it, the Mothman is on the reserve list in this one, and this was reprinted in a couple of different fashions. Obviously, Encrypted Nation 2nd edition as well, and I believe it was in one of the pin box ones. So this is my first point on the reserve list. For a lot of reasons, a reserve list is really good. The reserve list is really good for the financial value of cards. The reserve list is bad if that means that players can't get those cards at an appropriate price to play with. That being said, right now, there are a ton of these these cards in the world. It was just printed in 2nd edition. It's been in these pin club promos. It's been printed in a lot of, just different avenues. So I don't think that we are at the point right now where this is really going to, it's also only 1 per spell book. I don't think that this is really going to limit anything currently for players. Now, long term, they do reserve, it is kind of like the Magic the Gathering reserve this, where they will not print in a functionally identical card, but they could print cards that allow them to do things similarly. So, if something does go wrong, it's not like only people who have this expensive card can get it. What this does, in my opinion, is it solidifies that the current rarity of, that there won't be a more rare Mothman made. The reserve list from Magic the Gathering was more to preserve value from equal reprints of people who were using the cards. It was kind of this weird thing way back when. It wasn't meant to be for investors, collectors, long time, not like we are talking about now. I think for the reserve list for Metazoo, what it says is that these Mothmen, these cards, the print run of these will not be replaced, right? There's never going to be a more rare Mothman than the Kickstarter, from the sample Mothman. They're not going to print a 1 of 1 or 1 of too, that's like some chase rare that instantly makes these less valuable. That's the kicker, I think, in this world, is that you know for certain that your Mothman is that rare. And so like I think that's one of the valuable things of having a reserve list. As long as you've printed enough cards to supplement the potential player base and that kind of thing, and the card isn't essential in the format. So I think that's really good. The second thing that stood out to me that I was actually really excited about was that the release deck promos are on the reserve list, and I absolutely love this. Let me tell you why I love this. I love this because I want release deck cards to be special. I want them to be, I want them to remind you of when you were there, or when you opened that first pack. And I really love the idea that these cards were only available at the release. It rewards people who were involved in the game at the release of the sets. I think that's a really beautiful thing. I think it's a really great thing, and I'm super for that. And these cards are not super played. They're not super, they're not really push. But what it does is it allows those people who were there to be rewarded for being there at the beginning. I think that's really cool. And I hope that local game stores kind of lean into this and kind of encourage people to come out to pre-release events. And I hope that becomes something that we see happen as people are in these things and as these pre-release events are going on. The second one that was cool, I guess it was really cool for me, I guess, was the promo Mothman, as well as the promo Jersey Devil, which I actually have an upside down one, which is why I was pretty excited about. But the promo Mothman, I just pulled this today too from a Nightfall Pin Club. The promos, I think that's another really cool thing, that they were in blister packs. They were again readily available. They've been available for, I think the Nightfall ones have been available for like $5, $6. They've been readily available, and it's just another one of those early adopter items that is really good. Okay, let's talk about some of the maybe a little bit more things for gameplay, and I hope that they have solutions for it, and I hope that they have thought this through, and until they haven't thought it through, until there's evidence that they haven't thought it through, I'm gonna guess that they have thought it through. Number one was New Year's New Beginnings is on this list, right? Let me just double check that New Year's and New Beginnings is on this list, and the reason that this one bothers me, yeah, New Year's, New Beginning. The reason that this one bothers me is this card is so good. It's so good. It's so fun. It's good and it's fun to play. But here's the opposite side of this. This card has a second edition already that was printed in these Christmas promos, which there's been a million of these. I've seen these everywhere. And so I have a feeling that they've tracked the print run number of this and that they feel pretty confident. Again, it's only one per spell book, but this card is really good. It's in some decks right now. This is a card to definitely, if you have those Christmas promo boxes, you may think about opening them because these are in there. And I think this is an interesting card. You replace your entire chapter. Basically, you both get to draw back to 7 cards. So it's a card that it sees a lot of play, and that kind of bothers me. And another one of those things is the artifacts and like Chaos Crystal and Black Hole Shard, and these ones tap for 2 basically. You fatigue it and generate 2 aura. And I've heard these are pretty good. They obviously accelerate your mana pool, your whatever pool, just like a artifact does in Magic the Gathering. These are going to be utilized in gameplay, and that does put like a little question mark on like, okay, how do you replace that? How do you make sure that that doesn't make decks too expensive to play? Because this is the balance that we live in with the collectible or tradable card game, TCGs, is that you have to make the cards valuable, but you also have to make the cards accessible for new players. And so a couple of things off that bat. Number one, we just got second edition. It's very affordable. $90 a box, $100 a box, around that price point. Very affordable. Still plenty of cards to be opened and added to the collection, added to the collection of cards from everyone. Additionally, and this is what I hope that they are doing, additionally, I think that you could have, and there's been some conversation about like dual tapping artifacts where they would tap for multiple different colors, and maybe that's part of the idea. And I don't know all the details. I haven't been following it super close like that to hear all the announcements and all the things, but there are ways to continually to add, or to continue to add these kind of artifacts that tap for mana without replacing or being better. They could cost 1 and tap for 3. There's other ways to do this that continue to allow the game to develop and the game to shift. But that is going to be something to watch. I do trust that that they have thought about that and they have considered that for these cards. And this has been a conversation since last September, I know, about these artifacts that we're going to go and Nazi print post second edition or whatever. So anyway, that is the Metazoo reserve list. Again, you can see the full list. There's some other things in there. You can see the full list in the Metazoo Discord server. You've got all the tribal deck promos as well that were out. You've got those artifacts, the Mothman Chaos Crystal, the blister packs. You've got the first anniversary celebration, Father Sam, Loveland Mailman, the DeBruze and Metazoo one. Like, there's a lot, the Rudy promos. There's a lot of things on there that you would kind of expect. The release medals, the spellbook promos, all that kind of stuff. But the point here is Metazoo cares about their secondary market. They are really watching the secondary market, and they want things to have value on the secondary market. And the only concern about, I love that. I think that's really healthy. As a game, I think it's the only concern is, are you replacing those things with things that are going to allow the game to continue to grow? And I don't see anything currently on the reserve list that has completely ostracized the player. I think that, there's a ton of chaos crystals that are printed in non-holo in the theme decks and all these things. So like there's going to be plenty of cheaper versions of those cards as the game grows in this kind of, I guess you would call it the infancy stage. It's only been around for a year and a half. So I think there's a lot of room still for players to get the cards right now. 5 years down the road, I think they will have come up with replacements that kind of generate the ability. So I think it's a really good thing. I think it's really interesting for the market. I do think that there's a lot of room for conversation on the other end as well. And I'm curious to hear both your opinions and the opinions of others in this. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. Let me know what you think. Remember, be kind to the people around you, and we'll see you again next video.